Chapter 1 The Unvanquished Truth. Never had a brain until a freak came along and let me borrow his for a while. And that's the truth, the whole truth. The unvanquished truth is how a freak would say it. And for a long time, it was him who did the talking. Except I had a way of saying things with my fists and my feet, even before I became Freak the Mighty, slaying dragons and fools, and walking high above the world. Called me Kicker for a time. This was daycare, the year Graham and Grim took me over. I had a thing about booting anyone who dared touch me, because they always trying to throw a hug on me like it was medicine I needed. Graham and Grim, bless their pointed little heads. They're my mother's people, her parents. And they figured, whoa, better put this little critter with other little critters his own age. Maybe it'll improve his temper. Yeah, right. Instead, what happened? I invented games like kickboxing and kick knees and kick faces and kick teachers and kick the other little daycare critters because I know what a rotten lie this hug stuff was. Oh, I knew. That's when I first got my look at Freak, the year of the phony hugs. He didn't look so different back then. We were all of us pretty small, right? But he wasn't in the playroom with us every day. Just every now and then he'd show up, looking sort of fierce is how I remember him. Except later, it was Freak himself who taught me that remembering is a great invention of the mind. And if you try hard enough, you can remember anything, whether it really happened or not. So maybe he wasn't really all that fierce in daycare, except I'm pretty sure he did hit a kid with his crutch once. Whacked the little brat pretty good. And for some reason, Lil Kicker never got around to kicking Lil Freak. Maybe it was those crutches kept me from lashing out at him. Man, those crutches were cool. I wanted a pair for myself. And when Little Freak showed up one day with these shiny braces strapped to his crooked legs, metal tubes right up to his hips, why, those were even more cool than crutches. I'm Robot Man, Little Freak would go, making these weird robot noises as he humped himself around the playground. Rah, rah, rah. Like he had robot motors inside his legs going rah, rah, rah. And this look, like, don't mess with me, man. Maybe I got laser cannon hidden inside these leg braces. Smoke a hole right through you. No question. Freak was hooked on robots, even back then. This little guy, 2 feet tall, and already he knew what he wanted. Then for a long time, I never saw Freak anymore. One day he just never came back to daycare. And the next thing I remember, I'm like in 3rd grade or something, and I catch a glimpse of this yellow-haired cripple kid scowling at me from one of those cripple vans. Man, they were death ray eyes, and I think like, hey, that's him, the robot boy. And I was like, whoa, because I'd forgotten all about him. Daycare was a blank space in my head, and nobody had called me Kicker for a long time. Mad Max, they were calling me, or Max Factor. Or this one butthead in LD class, he called me MaxiPad, until I persuaded him otherwise. Graham and Grim always called me Maxwell, though, which is supposed to be my real name, and sometimes I hated that worst of all. Maxwell. Ugh. Grim, out in the kitchen one night after supper, whispered to Graham. Had she noticed how much Maxwell was getting to look like him? Which is the way he always talks about my father, who had married his dear departed daughter and produced Eek Eek Maxwell. Grim never says my father's name, just him. Like his name is too scary to say. It's more than just the way Maxwell resembles him, Grim says that night in the kitchen. The boy is like him. We better watch out. You never know what he might do when we're sleeping like his father did. And Graham right away shushes him up and says, don't you ever say that, because little pictures have big ears. Which makes me run to the mirror to see if it's my big ears that make me look like him. What a butthead, huh? Well, I was a butthead. Because like I said, I never had a brain until Freak moved down the street. The summer before 8th grade, right? That's the summer we grew so fast that Grim said we'd best let the boy go barefoot. He's exploding out of his shoes. That barefoot summer, when I fell down a lot, and the weird robot boy with his white yellow hair and his weird fierce eyes moved in the duplex down the block with his beautiful brown-haired mom, the fair Guinevere. Only a fallen down goon would think that was her real name, right? Like I said. Are you paying attention here? Because you don't even know yet how we got to be Freak the Mighty, which was pretty cool, even if I do say so myself.